Once upon a time, there was a fat guy who played guitar, and all he wanted to do was teach the world to sing, play guitar, actually. In case you hadn't noticed, I am not particularly famous. I mean, my YouTube channel does okay here, and I've got a decent following on my Spotify channel, I guess. But by any fame metric, I am just another ding-dong playing guitar. And to that end, us ding-dongs need to stick together. So I'm going to share some cautionary tales with you. The year was 1987. I had been playing guitar for all of 12 months, and I thought I was the hottest poop there was. Had my first gig at a church, and the 15 or 16 people in attendance were clapping pretty well. And so, of course, after that, I thought all the fame and fortune, world tours, piles of cash were coming my way. I was going to be the next Eddie Van Halen, right? What I didn't realize was that a career in music is like asking for a job lining up to get kicked in the nuts every day, day after day. But you know what? Any of us who take this path, any of us who want to be a musician, you do it because you love it, because you can't imagine not doing it. It's like breathing. You just have to do it. You know it's going to be painful and difficult, but you do it anyway because it's in you. Anything else would just be inconceivable.
I'm afraid so.
So what I want to share with you today are my top 5 kind of funny stories that happened to me along the way over the 30 plus years I've been doing this. And each little story is actually kind of, like I said, a cautionary tale. Hopefully you can learn from things that I could have done better. So let me share those things with you, and hopefully it's a useful lesson in your own music career.
I accept.
Cautionary tale number 1. Make sure your audition ads say experience required, or at least get demo tapes. So this one is kind of recent for me. This was something that happened with my band Answer Infinity. A few years ago, the singer we were working with wasn't able to continue with the band, and so we started holding auditions. We put ads out in all the places you normally would online and whatnot. And man, I wished I had filmed everything that happened. It was like a montage from an 80s movie, like cheerleader tryouts or something.
I play guitar.
I'm Eitan. Hi, I'm Fred.
We had some very interesting characters that showed up, and one of the guys that showed up couldn't sing a note in key at all, and it was really difficult. And we were just kind of powering through it. We had 2 songs that we had asked him to do with us. And after it was over, I just kind of nicely asked him, hey, have you done this before? And his answer was that he'd never sang in front of anybody before. Just his mom had heard him, like the old tale, and she said he was good. Man, if you could have heard this, it was not good. And so what do you say? I just told him maybe you should record yourself a little, listen back to it, think about getting some vocal lessons, and we sent him on his way. But yeah, if you're going to run ads looking for musicians for your band and you don't want to waste a lot of time, get a demo tape or make sure they've got some kind of experience. Cautionary tale number 2. Don't move a blind drummer's stuff. Okay, what is this about? This is kind of silly. Probably not going to happen to you, but back in 87, when I first started, I had gone out to California. I'm here in the New York City metropolitan area, and I'd gone out there for a year and joined a band where a couple of the players in the band were blind guys that had played in a jazz band, actually, really talented dudes. One was the drummer, one was a bass player, and then me and another guitar player were playing with them and kind of doing an instrumental thing. Well, we all thought it would be funny going into the rehearsal spaces at the drummer's house if we moved some of his drums around, moved the cymbals and all that.
Boo, not cool.
Because, hey, he's blind. He doesn't know that we moved him. Pretty cruel when you think back on it, but we all had a good laugh over it until he got up from the drum kit. One of the drums, like the floor tom we had moved, he bumped into it, kind of fell over, fell into a little 4-track recorder I had put on a low shelf there that then fell into my 12-string acoustic guitar that I had lying on the ground and stuck a big fat hole in it. So how's that for instant karma? Play a joke on a blind guy, get a hole stuck in your guitar. So yeah, if you're playing in a band with people that can't see, don't move their stuff around. Cautionary tale number 3, and this one's going to probably be meaningful for a lot more of you people, and that is when you're on stage, do not plug your stuff into a non-grounded plug, or at least if you're touching a guitar and a mic at the same time, or a bass and a mic, test it with your hand, because if it's ungrounded and something's weird with the electricity there, you get a shock almost as bad as sticking your hand in a socket. And I found this out when I was doing a show. I think we were opening for Danzig or something. It was like a big night for me, one of our first big opening gigs. And I'm playing the guitar and I'm leaning into the mic and I'm trying to get enough volume, and my lips touch the mic and I'm touching the guitar at the same time. And at the time I had hair, and man, it must have stood up straight. I probably looked like Don King in that moment. So yeah, if you're going to play on stage and you're touching a mic and some strings at the same time, again, make sure it's a grounded plug, like a 3-prong plug, and maybe touch the guitar and just lightly touch your hand to the mic. Make sure that stuff's grounded, because that sucked. Cautionary tale number 4. If there's a murder hornet in your room and you need to get away from it, make sure you've already planned an escape route that doesn't take you through a rack of guitars. Okay, it wasn't quite a murder hornet, but it was some kind of nasty looking bee, and I am chicken of bees. Like a little kid, I run away screaming. And the other day, one of them was flying around in here. It came for my head, and I took off out of my seat and just ran into my rack of 7 guitars, as you saw in the picture there. Bent the rack up, and thankfully I didn't ruin any of the guitars, but there was a lot of tuning going on after that. Cautionary tale number 5. Drugs are bad. Okay, this is the most serious one that I can share here, and at the end of this, the message is probably the single most important thing I can share with you if you're looking at a career in music and what it led me to. And actually, this is not about my own personal journey. I've actually never been someone that got into drugs or drinking in particular. But going back to the mid-90s, I don't remember the exact year. I think it's 94, because it was the 25th anniversary of Woodstock, so 69 plus 25, whatever year that was. I was playing in one band, and I was jamming with some friends in another band, and one of the guys in the other band had an opportunity to be able to play on the stage at that 25th anniversary of Woodstock. It wasn't a good spot. We were a nobody. It was like a Monday morning thing during the whole festival. And at that time, the main band that I was with, we had just signed some kind of production deal. It looked like we were going to get somewhere. It was kind of a local thing, but it was also a big step forward. The guy was connected. He did a bunch of producing with well-known bands, and it was going to lead us somewhere. And so I kind of ticked off the members of that band by 2 of us going and doing something with the other band. So that was the first thing we did wrong, was kind of doing something that wasn't like in the best interest of the main band unit. Anyway, we got there, and I'm not going to tell the whole big long story, but one of the guys from the other band that we were with, because we were at Woodstock and we were there overnight, he decided, after years and years of being sober, he was just going to smoke some weed. No big deal, it's just weed. But in this case, someone had handed him something that had other stuff in it.
That is not appropriate behavior, okay?
And he just went off on a crazy trip. And me and the guy that I was with, who was quite a strong individual, who was a weightlifting guy, when the guy who had smoked started losing it, and it took the 2 of us just to hold him down. He was going through some kind of weird trip, and it was scary. And then he passed out and stopped breathing. And it was raining, and we're running down through the mud to the infield care center to get an ambulance for the guy. And they sent some EMTs up, and he started breathing again, thankfully. And the whole thing was a mess, though. We were supposed to go on, I think it was 9 in the morning. I don't even remember. And this was like 4 or 5 in the morning by the time this all ended. I was supposed to sing a bunch of the songs in the set. Between the rain and not getting sleep, I could barely even talk. And here we are with, even at the time that we had, all these people here to see it, and it was kind of scary. I was ready to basically get embarrassed. And we get up on the stage, and the stage manager tells us that we have to sign this form. It's like a release for the songs, because they're going to do some kind of DVD or something. And a couple of the songs that we were doing were actually songs from my main band. And because of the production deal we had signed, I didn't know that I had the rights that I could sign away like this. It wasn't clear. This was in the day before cell phones, where I could just call that producer up and ask him, hey, what are we doing here? And I guess between not being sure and feeling like we were probably going to suck, we ended up just walking away from it. And then a week later, the production deal and the band, the whole thing just fell apart. The producer ended up having a hit with, I think it was SWV, and that took him out on the road with them, and all kinds of stuff that was going on, and we just got shelved. So the 2 of the important takeaways here, the things I really want you to think about if you're going into a career in music, and what I learned is, 1, if you get a deal, if you sign some kind of deal, make sure it includes stuff in it about when your material is going to get released, not just that they're going to help you do an album. Because if there's no timeline on it, it doesn't mean anything. They could just sit there on a shelf forever and never get done. And 2, the most important thing that I can tell you that I took away from all of this is that you have to do music because you love it. That was for me, I joked about this being like a job, getting in line for a series of kicks, and you know what? It was the last in a long line of getting kicked when I was down, and I finally gave up on trying to be the famous musician, the star, and do music as a career. And what was odd about that was it was almost like a relief. I started to enjoy playing music again. I picked up the guitar and I started writing music just for me. Stuff that I wanted to hear back eventually became, when the iPod came out and everything, stuff I could put on an iPod and put in the car, or stuff I could burn to a CD and put in the car in the early days. And I was writing music strictly for my own enjoyment. And I started to develop much more of a love for it and develop a more unique style and become the musician that I am today, because I stopped always thinking about what is someone else going to think about this song, and I just wrote what was inside and what was honest. And if you're going to do music for a career at all, don't lose sight of that. Do music because you love music, and do the music you want to hear. Don't do music like it's some kind of poll where you have to check out what people are voting on for what they like. Do what's inside of you. So guys, I know this was a little bit different of a lesson. It's just me babbling on and on here as if I'm somebody important and famous, but I'm hoping that the 5 cautionary tales, and a couple of them are just silly, I'm hoping that this stuff is useful to you. And if you got some cool stories of your own, I'd love to hear them. Please drop them in the comments below. I'm sure we've all got some crazy stuff that's happened to us. It's like that movie Fear of a Black Hat. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Funny as heck. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to me talk, and thanks for being a part of this channel. And until next time, keep making great music. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.